All right, knowing your numbers. So I won't say it. I'm just going to think it. See if you can guess what I'm thinking. I'm sure you did, but I'm not going to say it this time. I know I've said it in every single other video so far, so I will give your ears a rest. Okay, so again, Google Doc. We're going to bounce through this pretty quickly. I don't want to spend too much time on this, although it is those words again, but I just want to go through this. Again, it's going to reiterate and reflect back on the previous videos as well. But knowing your numbers, okay? So the chances are the goals that you set in the previous video, which you should have set, and hopefully you did set, again, like I know people just want to get to the meat and potatoes. People want to get to running ads and scaling ads and actually making the money. But preparing here, preparing your mindset, fortifying your mindset, laying the foundations, knowing how to stay productive and laser focused, that's what's going to win long term. Okay, I guarantee it. Going ahead and skipping ahead to the good part where the money's actually being made is great. But if you haven't fortified your mindset and you haven't, understood what the reason why is, what your driving factor is and what goals you have, you're going to fall off sooner or later. Okay, and it's going to be harder to pick yourself back up and dust yourself off and jump back on. So knowing this and doing this, super important. So those that did, after clapping yourself on the back, most of you will have set a monetary goal somewhere along the lines, okay? Whether that be X amount in the bank, whether that be, buying a house, whether that be buying a new car, whether that be traveling the world, whether it be whatever, there's going to be some kind of monetary value to that goal, okay? Some bigger than others, of course. But in order for us to achieve that goal, that monetary goal, we need to be clear and we need to know the numbers, and we'll do exactly the same as what we did with our goals. We start at the end and we work backwards, okay? So end result, example, let's say that I wanted to retire at 40 and I'm currently 35. So in 5 years time, okay? And I want to spend as much time as I like with loved ones. I want $2 million in the bank. I want a $1 million plus home that I'm living in. And I also want a $1 million holiday villa somewhere in Europe. And I never want to worry about bills or expenses again. And my current expenses are 10K per month. Okay. So I need to make sure I have, 10K a month coming in. So let's look at that upfront money needed. Okay. So for my $2 million in the bank, for my $1 million home and my $1 million holiday villa, that's $4 million total. I need $4 million. Plus I need that residual or recurring 10K per month ongoing. All right. So let's see how we do that. So how do we get to 10K per month, which is obviously 120K a year? Again, I'm not going to dive too far into the details. It's very self-explanatory. But how do we get to 10K per month? Investments. Okay. Investments. Let's put our money to work for us. So we could base our investments on a 5% annual return, which I personally think is on the low side. Okay. Depending where you're playing, stocks, shares, real estate, you could even go a little bit more aggressive into crypto and see a much higher return, but with more risk. Okay. But a 5% is an achievable number. I think my current stocks and shares portfolio right now is returning 17%. And that was with, this, again, we potentially haven't seen the big crash. So that might change in the next year or two. But over the last few years, I've averaged 17%, which is insane. So I've over 3x'd my baseline, what I aimed for return. Okay. So in essence, if I was to carry on doing that, I've tripled the speed of getting there. Okay. So it's interesting to realize that as well, right? Okay. So let's go off the 5% annual return. Okay. And so initial investment to spit out our 10% per month is 2.4 mil needed. Okay. Invested on top of the 4 mil that we need for our money in the bank and our 2 homes. So now altogether we need 6.4 mil. Okay, so we've increased that. Now we need 4 mil for the stuff that we want, the 2 mil in the bank and the 2 houses, and we need 2.4 mil invested to give us that 10K per month and monthly return, right? Okay, so operating at a 20% net. Okay, so taking 20% profit, and we've got to factor in and account for taxes and business expenses and all of that good stuff. Okay, so 20% net, we need to generate approximately $35 million over the next 5 years. Okay, now if we divided the 35 mil by 5, that would give us 7 mil per year. That's what we need to hit over these next 5 years. Now we can break it into, yearly, monthly, weekly, and even daily revenue goals. And I know I've touched upon this in the previous video, but this is how easy it can become and how things change and you can really get laser focused on it. So breaking it down, 7 mil a year, and I know this is potentially going to be slightly out because I might have, factored in divided by 12 and then divided by 52 and divided by 365. So, if you were to times this by February's month, it might not be the exact number. I know that, okay? But let's just use this as a sort of baseline average, okay? So 7 mil a year equates to 583K a month, equates to 134K a week, equates to 19K a day. So now we know exactly what we need to achieve this goal of 6.4 mil. Now, I know that might not be your goal, okay? You might have a much lower goal. These numbers are going to be completely different, okay? If your goal is to have 500K in the next couple of years, these goals are going to be massively different, all right? If your expenses per month are going to be 2K a month, your goal is going to be massively different. You are not going to need 2.4 mil invested. Okay, so this is all going to change. This is based off what I've written down here. Okay, this is more in line with what I want. Okay, so, or what I've got and what I'm trying to achieve. So again, this is going to be different dependent on what your time frame is. Maybe you're 20 years old. Maybe you've got 20 years that you want to do this for and then retire at 40. Maybe you've got 10 years. Well, now you've extended the time frame by 5 or 10 years, right? So then achieving these numbers is not going to be as compact. You have a little bit of a longer time frame, which is going to reduce these numbers, all right? So, okay. Now also to touch upon, right, these numbers to people starting out or maybe that don't have a massive amount of experience seem quite unachievable. I get it, okay? But I will tell you, hand on heart, they are very much achievable. Okay, they are very much achievable. As you progress and as you keep on going and striving, reinvesting profits, scaling up, it's going to become apparent to you that these numbers are very much achievable. Okay, now, some of the things that you'll be doing and going to scaling campaigns, you might then diversify into investing in a business, an e-com site or whatever, and taking the skills that you learn in this course or skills that you already have, and then using some of the money that you generate to invest in another business that then adds to your bottom line, okay, into your daily revenue. Okay, so I'm not saying that this only has to come from running ads as an affiliate. You might JV on an offer. You might become very good friends with a vendor of an offer that you run as an affiliate, and you become friends with that person, and then you then JV on that offer or their new offer, and then that ends up adding 5-10K a day to your line, okay? There's 1,000,001 ways that this could go, okay? And other ways that you can make money. You might start building a team and then start using your team as a service for other budding affiliates, or maybe you develop your own offer or own course. There's a ton of ways that you can make money and that you can add to this, okay, to help make this type of money. I will also again say that these type of numbers are very much achievable just from doing what I'm teaching in this course, just from running ads as an affiliate to a health supplement. These numbers are more than achievable, okay? So I want you to keep that in mind as well. You have to start somewhere. I know sometimes these numbers can start big or look big, especially if you only have a few $1,000s saved up or as a float, which again we'll talk about when we come to running ads. But that's fine. I think to give you some timelines, and again, everyone's going to be different and this isn't going to work out the same. But for me, my first 5-figure profit day, so making more than 10K profit in one day, came 6 or 7 months after starting this. I started spending $100 a day. Within 6 or 7 months, I was spending 10, 15, 20K a day. Okay, so this can happen pretty quick. Is it consistent? No, sometimes it'll drop. Sometimes you'll do 100K a day. Sometimes you'll do negative. Sometimes you'll do 200K a day. Sometimes you'll do 50K, sometimes 20K. Okay. What matters is we're looking at the average. So sometimes you might not hit this number, but overall, maybe you hit this number in a week, or maybe you don't hit this number in the week, but overall you hit this in the month, or maybe you don't hit it in the month, but overall you hit this in the year. Okay, it's why it's important to break it down into different numbers so we know what we can achieve, but we're always looking at the average as well. So sometimes you don't hit this number, don't get deflated, hit this number. You don't hit that number, don't get deflated, hit this number, right? So again, these numbers are more suited for what I was wanting and striving for. So it's important that if you do have monetary goals, whether that be to buy a house for $1 million, or whether it be to put your daughter or son into education, or whatever it is, those monetary goals can be broken down and, reverse engineered so you can break them into smaller, more digestible goals. Okay, so we'll wrap that up.